Hello, I'm Tom Waddell. I'm the CEO of Waddell Group, and this is Jonathan Flachman. Let me ask you a few questions.
Sure.
We've gone from what I prefer is management by walking around, and
Right.
to that's not available anymore. So, especially over the last 6 months, we've both done remote things too. But what have you learned about managing a project remotely, and how have things changed over the last 6 months?
So I've been doing remote project management for a long time, kind of pre-COVID, as you said. But what's really changed is, I think, not only the tools that are available, but how much they're implemented within companies. One of the challenges historically of managing remote teams is if the tools are not used in all parts of a team member's day, they don't get used for a particular team. So it doesn't matter how good the tool is, you can't implement it for just one team because people forget to go in and look at their Slack channel or whatever it is. So those things didn't work very well. And one of the things that's changed over the last 6 months is companies have gotten very serious about figuring out what tools they want to implement and going and doing that.
Okay.
And I think one of the key things is into that successful integration into their lives is just a low barrier to use. So I have one video conferencing application that I use for a client that takes about 8 clicks to sign in, and I have to sign in every time I want to set up a call.
That's
and that one gets used a lot less frequently than the one where I can just click on someone's name and hit dial and it starts a call. And
like what we did today.
Yeah. And actually even easier than what we did today. Some of them are, I don't even have to set up the meeting in advance. I can do it like dialing a phone and they pick it up on their computer and it's video right there.
Give us some tips, Jonathan. What is that one called?
So the one that I've used the most that I like is actually Microsoft Teams, because at least for this one client, the whole company uses it. It allows people to do both asynchronous chat, and then if you want to set up a meeting, it's integrated into Outlook, and it's one click to add it to the meeting, and it's one click to go from asynchronous chat to video chat. And so all of those things are super useful and super easy compared to some of the other tools.
Okay, so get a tool you like and it's easy to use.
Right. There are other tools that are also relatively easy to use. Teams isn't the only one, but that's the one that I found in my current list of clients that works the best.
Fewest number of clicks.
Yep. It matters as you're thinking about, if you were talking about management by walking around, and it's the closest thing you can get to it is how quickly can I talk to Tom to ask this question? And if I have to set up a meeting, it's going to happen next Tuesday. But if I can do in one click, I can talk to him. It's not that different from yelling over the cue ball.
Right. And since all of us are attached to our phones and our computers anyway right now, it's good likelihood you're going to be available.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So I know I am. So, all right. Any other observations?
Along with the tools, communication is key and more important
always
in a remote environment than it is in anything else. And the tools help that, but just the discipline to communicate, lots of information and communicate frequently. And so if you think you're communicating enough, you're probably communicating about half enough. And I found both on the receiving and the sending end, right? When I think I understand what somebody said to me in an email, right, there's just often times for misunderstanding about the scope. And when you're not checking in with people walking around and doing all the other stuff, when the email or the asynchronous chat is the only communication about something, you just end up with more communication challenges. And so communicating a lot is important.
Yep.
The other thing I found is,
Jonathan, so communicate twice as much as what you think you should.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're doing that all the time when we're sitting in the same office. You kind of turn around and say, hey, Jonathan.
How's that thing going, right?
Yes, exactly. You gave us some tools.
Yeah.
And I forced you to tell us about Teams.
Yeah.
So,
I think the other thing is just understanding that work from home for some people works great, and for other people is really challenging. Pets and small kids and, interruptions during the day. It allows people to roll in some things that were challenging for them before very easily, right? The furnace guy's coming. I don't have to take a half a day off and stay home. I can just let him in and go back to work. But when my kids aren't at daycare, or my dog needs to go out, or the mailman comes and the dog starts barking, those are challenging things for people to deal with, and sometimes embarrassing things for people to deal with. They're embarrassed about having to deal with a toddler, or whatever it is. And so just really being understanding that this is hard for people, and that people are working hard and doing their best.
right.
It's really important to maintaining the relationships.
Yep.
I think the other thing that's important to understand is that a team that was working together before COVID, and they were in the same location, and they all had, relationships based on physical proximity, those teams I have found work much better in a remote situation than teams that have started after work at home, and they don't have that physical proximity, and they don't have all those side conversations about what you did in the weekend, because they don't talk to each other except in the course of a meeting. So finding artificial ways to set some of those things up. Some companies do, a Tuesday afternoon happy hour where people talk about their weekend, and they have some of those other side conversations. They seem like a waste of time and a waste of money and a waste of resources. But they're so important to building the relationships. What are people doing outside of work doesn't get talked about now.
Yes, I've actually just in the last few weeks shifted a bit to having more of those conversations on calls like this. So yeah, it took me a long time to get there, Jonathan. You're much faster at that. No. Yeah, and I have an engineer that I work with that has a 14-month-old, and he sometimes is really fussy when it's his days, because his wife is a professional also. And he puts his son up on his head, and his son is biting his head and slapping him while we're having a conversation about waveguides. So it's been awesome. And he started out embarrassed about things, but now he's just like, oh, let's go. So I like interacting with the kids too. So
yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I think when people realize that you like their kid, and you're excited to see that part of their life, as opposed to frustrated and annoyed that their child is in the video, I think that's a big difference for people.
One of my former team members / business partners said that communication is the currency of project management.
Yes, I think. I guess one other thing I'd add is, back to the tools, the online tools, some of the tools that are available now that weren't available not too long ago, and weren't used where they were available not too long ago, are some of the online task trackers, Asana and Basecamp and those kinds of things. And so where you can use those
in software, but not really in hardware development, right?
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of teams didn't use those effectively or at all. And so if people have one place they can go to look and see all their tasks across all their teams, remember, it's got to be used across everything they do in their day. But where you can do that really helps a lot.
Great. Jonathan, thank you very much for your time today. This is awesome. I hope this is useful for the viewers. And please leave your comments below.